If you've ever gone for an interview, I know you get into a time when the panelist asked you or gave you a chance to ask them a question. What did you do? Did you ask a question or you said that you don't have? I think I interact with many people who ask me whether they should ask a question or whether it is good if they don't ask a question in an interview. So in today's episode, I want to share with you the most common and best 15 questions that you can ask in a job interview when you're given a chance to do so. Welcome back to another episode. My name is Nelly and this is Careers with Nelly. In this channel, I share content on personal, professional and career growth to help you build a fulfilling and rewarding career. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back, and I'm glad to know that this channel has actually added value to you. As we start this conversation, it's important just to let you know why it will be important for you to ask a question in an interview. First, because you have had the panelist talking to you for many 30 minutes or even more. I think it's just important that also if they give you a chance to ask a question, it's important that you do so, because it shows that you are interested in the job. It shows that you have been listening, and it also shows that you would like to know more, because if you're actually interested, then you ask questions to get more. It shows that you want to know, you want to be more clear about the job. So by asking a questions, you're basically telling the interviewers that I am really interested in joining you. Please tell me more about the company. Please tell me more about the job. I would like to know more about you. So what does that do to you as a candidate? It increases your chances of being recommended from that interview. It also helps you to stand out, because at the end of it all, the panelist will always remember one thing that stood out from all the candidates that they interviewed for that role. So if you've been wondering why it is important for you to ask questions in an interview, then there you have it. It makes you stand out, and it actually distinguishes you from other candidates, especially those who never get to ask any question during this time. So also, why would a panelist give you a chance to ask an interview? Because I always from where I sit, I always advocate for conversational interviews, not interrogative sort of where you feel you're sitting on the other side and being asked questions, but conversational in that you're also given a chance to be part of that conversation just by giving you that chance to ask questions. Then the interviewers will also ask it just to measure your level of interest. And the time that you're being asked or rather the time that the panelist allows you to ask a question is also an evaluation time, that they want to also understand the type of questions that you're asking. So that typically displays to them your knowledge also. They will be able to know how knowledgeable you are. They'll be able to know how much you know about the job. They'll be able to know how much you know about the company, even apart from just showing them that you're much interested in knowing more. So also, that's why it's important that you don't just ask questions, but you ask quality questions. And that is what I am sharing with you just in a few in this video. So the first question that you can ask when you're given the chance to ask a question in an interview is, what are some of the opportunities available for growth in this organization or in this role? So this question, why it is always important for me, because typically we are all looking for an opportunity to grow. And when you get into a new job, ideally it should be better and it should place you in a better position as compared to your previous job. So what does that mean? That basically means that you need to get into a job where you have opportunity and potential for growth. So by asking these questions, you expect answers such as, what are some of the development opportunities? What are some of the training opportunities that are available? And of course, just by getting to understand these opportunities, you're able to assess that they are going to put you in a position where you'll be able to build new skills. It is also about understanding the job, to just get to understand if this job will be more challenging, and the more challenging a job is, the more opportunity of growth that you have in that job. This question also will just give you an insight into how, or into whether there is an upward opportunity of growth in terms of other possible promotions. So that question gives you an insight to just know that if I'm in this job, what are some of the promotion opportunities? How does the career path look like? So from where you sit, you're very clear that it is a job that you can grow into. Another question that you can ask is, what are the common challenges faced in this job by the previous, or by the predecessors? So you want to get to understand, to know the challenges. And why this question is really important to me is because it will give you also just an insight into how much you should be prepared for that job. Because if you ask about challenges, maybe you'll be told, maybe for example, one of the challenges that is usually associated with this job is that it is quite demanding. So if it is demanding, then it means that you may be expected sometimes to work extra long hours. You may be expected to be called upon at abnormal hours that are not maybe working hours. You will be expected to travel a lot, and some of them might come maybe impromptu and all that. And maybe some of the challenges in this job is due to its involvement with key stakeholders. So some of the things you really need to prepare yourself for is managing your stakeholders. So, you know, with that insight into the challenges, you are prepared. So if you're somebody who's looking for a new challenge, then it becomes an ideal opportunity for you just to take up the role if you are successful. Question number 3 is, what is your best part about working for this company? Or what is your best experience about working for this company? So what is your best part of working for this company, or about working for this company? You're asking the panelist. That question is very powerful also into giving you insights of the culture and the working conditions of the company. So one of the ways that maybe panelists will answer you is just by sharing their experience, how the company has been. You know, I like working for this company because it gives me an opportunity to utilize my full potential. I like working for this company because of the open door policy that is applicable in this company. I like working for this company because of the hybrid model of work, or because of the availability of remote work. So every panelist will share why they like working for that company, and that just gives you an insight of how the company looks like, of how working for that company looks like. And from that question is really important, because you will really get to know if this is the company that you genuinely want to join. Question number 4 that you can ask is, how is success measured in this job? It's important to know how your success will be measured, and what are the exact metrics that will be used. So that way you get to become clear from the start. So for instance, if you're applying for a talent acquisition role and you ask, how will success be measured? And maybe they'll tell you what are the recruitment metrics that will be measured in that job. They'll tell you maybe that your job will be measuring how you reduce hiring costs, how you reduce time to hire, how you increase the quality of candidates, how you know. So once you know that, then even if you get the job, you're very clear on what exactly you need to work on to become successful in your job. Another powerful question you can ask is, what will be expected of the successful candidates in 3, 6, and 9 months? And the first 3 months, the first 6 months, and the first 9 months of a job are usually really important. The first 3 months just help you to set the foundation, to get to understand the policies of the organization, to get to understand your stakeholders, interact with them, build rapport with them, build connections with your team and your colleagues, and of course just get to settle in your role. Then first 6 months is important also now, because you're now getting fully you're now getting fully into the company, you're getting fully into your job. And for most companies, probations are like 6 months. You're working on your 6 months target, or rather on your 6 months goals, just to get to that threshold of confirmation of your employment. And in 9 months, you've now fully settled. Probably you've been your probation has been confirmed, and you've really gelled well with the team and fully become part of the company. So it's important to know what is expected of you, so that as a new hire, when you start the job, you have a clear plan, because you have a clear understanding of what is expected of you in the first 3 months, in the first 6 months, and in the 9 months. So it's important to ask this question, because it will help you to know the priorities of the company in regards to your role. So when you understand these priorities, then you're able to plan yourself, you're able to organize yourself, and you increase your chances of success in that job in the first few months. The next question you can ask is, who will I be working with? So the question of who will I be working with is a question that will help you get to understand the team. So that's the question that will get them to show you, or rather let you know how the structure of the department that you are joining looks like. So they'll tell you, for instance, in your role, you'll be reporting to this person, and the people that you'll be working with include this and this. This is how the department looks like. It gives you an insight, and just giving you more information about how the department look like, who you will be collaborating with, who you work with closely, and who are your key stakeholders for that role. So that's also a very important information. And one thing I always say about asking these questions in an interview is that if you get the job, you will be more prepared, because at least you will know what to expect, as compared to when you really don't ask them at all in the interview. The next question is, what does a typical day looks like in this job? So that is a very important question, especially if you want to understand the job. So a typical day, like how does it look like when I come to work from 8 to maybe 5 or 9 to 5? What is expected of me in this job? So they will answer maybe like typically a typical day in this job will look like starting by meetings in the morning, starting by client visits in the morning, or client engagements in the morning, starting out with your team in the morning, starting by answering customer queries, checking your emails. How does a typical day look like? What are their expectations, or are there goals that are expected of me to achieve on a daily basis, on a weekly basis? And typically, what should I expect on a typical day at work in this job? The next question you can ask is, how would you describe the company's culture? I always say that culture is experienced differently by people, but the general rule is that culture is a way of life of people in a certain place. So how is the way of life? This question, more or less, it can give you the same insights that you can get when you ask people what they enjoy most about working for the company. But this one is much wider, because it gives you an extensive view of how the general culture look like, not necessarily how the employees feel. You can be in a place, you can be in an organization with a very bad culture, but maybe in your small department, because you have a good team, you have a good boss, your experience is completely different. And you can also be in a place with a very, very good culture, but because you're working with the small team, the small department where you are, it's extremely toxic, and by that you actually fail to enjoy the aspects of that good culture, because ideally it's your colleagues or your boss that you work with closely more time while you're at work. So the question of what does the culture of this company look like, how is the culture, gives you more extensive insight of the way of life in that company. So so that you get to also make your decision, because culture is a very important aspect of your well-being in that company. So asking questions around culture is very important for you, and is quite critical for you to understand about the culture, so that even when you get the job, you are making a decision to take that offer at a point of knowledge. The next question that you can ask, guys, is how does the company handle feedback from employees? So this question is important to give you insight into the feedback mechanisms. You know, is it even a company that accepts feedback in the first place? Because I find that to be very key for you to understand. How do people receive feedback? How does the layers of authority look like in that company? If I have feedback maybe that I need to give to the CEO or to the director or whoever, who do I have to go through before that feedback actually gets to where it should be? Or is it an open door policy that I can wake up, walk into the CEO's office and give my feedback? Is it a place that you can't have one-on-one feedback sessions, and rather you have to use suggestion boxes and all that? So what does the environment look like, especially when it comes to giving and communicating feedback? The next question, which is very important for me, is how does the company measure employee satisfaction? If you're not measuring your employee satisfaction, then you can't be doing investments on people blindly. Because if you're investing in people, one of the ways to measure the return on investment is to measure the level of satisfaction. Whatever investment that you're making to make your people happy, if you're not measuring satisfaction, then it is actually investment that is not in futility. So back to this question, you need to ask, how is employee satisfaction measured? And why this question is powerful for you as a candidate is to get to understand if the employer values your satisfaction even in the first place. So ask questions on what are the feedback mechanisms, especially when it comes to employee satisfaction. What are the practices that the company deploys to measure? So it will also help you if your employer is intentional about the satisfaction and the well-being of their employees. The next question to ask is about your position, and the question is, how does this position fit into the company's general objective? This is a wise question to help you get or understand the importance of that job in the company. And why you need to understand whether your job is important or not is for your own fulfillment, that you're actually contributing into the general company objectives, and also for your own security and stability. Because I promise you, if your role is as important as it should be to the company, then you will be something that is called a critical resource. And this is a resource that the company needs for business continuity. So that also adds on to the aspect of your job security in that company. So it's important to get to understand where it also gives you an insight into understanding where does this role sit, even in terms of structure, and just looking at it also deeply, sometimes even in terms of grading, of course, not necessarily, but the different job groups, but not necessarily. So the typical insights that it gives you is to understand how this job is important to the company. The next question you need to ask is, what do you expect to see from the successful candidates? And I separated this from the other question that I shared on what you want the candidate to achieve in 3, 6, or 9 months. So what you expect to see in the successful candidate will give you an insight into understanding the behaviors that are prioritized, or the behaviors that the company desires. So this question, basically how they'll answer it in most cases, is that maybe we are looking for someone who is aggressive, we are looking for someone who is agile, we are looking for someone who is, it connects to an aspect of a specific trait that they're looking for, an aspect of a specific strength that they're looking for. So it gives you an insight into what are the strengths that they're looking for, what are the values that they're looking for, and what are the traits that the company is looking for in a person who will be successful for this role. The next question is, what are the next steps in the hiring process? You want to know what are the next steps. You want to know from this interview, is there a second level interview? Is there a a third level? After how long will I receive feedback? How will I receive feedback? Is this the last interview, so that if I'm successful, I just wait for maybe an offer from you? What are the next steps after this one of this recruitment process? So it's important for you to know, so that you don't, maybe after the interview, you keep on checking your email, they're not responding, they haven't called, I'm not seeing anything. Getting to understand the expected next steps is important, also to help control your own fears and anxieties. The next question is, what are the skills that you are missing in the current team that I should come and fill? So this question is a very powerful one, because it gives you a deeper insight into, also in terms of the technical skills in the exact team that you're going to join. What is it that the skills that the company really prioritize? So maybe they can tell you something like one of the current skills that is quite important for this role, or quite important for this department that we are currently lacking, is maybe tech savviness. We are looking for someone who is tech savvy. One of the skills that we're looking for is data analysis. We're looking for someone who is good with data. We're looking for someone who's keen with this and this. So once you get to understand that, and the way they answer these questions are, by the way, are determinant. Even you, after just getting out of that conversation, the way they answer these questions here can help you to actually just tell whether you have chances of being successful or not. For instance, this one, if you ask like, what are the skills that are currently missing in this team that I'm coming to fill, then they tell you we're looking for someone who's good at data analysis. And if that is a skill that you have, that you've actually been able to display there, then you actually going back home knowing that I stand a higher chance of getting this job. So typically also these questions, what it is good to ask them, because it also gives you an insight into how you sit in terms of what the company prefers, also how you come out in terms of maybe other candidates, and it also just gives you an insight into, do I have the right thing that they're looking for? So that's why it's quite important that you don't fail to ask a question. And the last question, guys, for this video is a question I want you to ask your boss or your line manager to be. Specifically, that will be the hiring manager in that interview. And the question is, how do you grow your team? And if you're bold enough, you can proceed and ask them, today, if you leave this job, will they promote the next person, your number 2, into your role? So the question is, how do you grow your team? And why you need to ask your manager that role is to know the type of person that they are, the type of leader that you're going to work with. How do they value your growth? Are they the manager that will give you tasks or opportunity to challenge yourself? Are they the manager or the boss who will be concerned about your growth? Because I always say that I don't care how good of a leader you are, but if you're not able to replicate, I think that's the word. If you're not able to produce people from your team, then for me, you shall have not been successful. So ask your manager how they grow your team to know whether or not you are getting into an opportunity that you have a person who will be intentional about developing and growing you, or a person who will be just instead pushing you back. So yeah, guys, those are the questions that I wanted to share with you. Next time you're going for an interview, please make sure to ask a question. I know this is a debate that I've had with so many people, whether or not I should ask a question, but the simple answer is yes, please ask a question. So thank you so much for watching. If you love this content, please feel free to share it within your network, with your friends, so that we expand this community where we are all about learning and making ourselves better for those rewarding and fulfilling careers. If you've not subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for. Please hit that subscribe button, put on the notification bell, and welcome to this community of learning. Let me get your comments in the comment section below, and thank you so much for watching. Till next time, bye bye.